Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Thank you especially to my Patreons here, patrons on Patreon. You guys support us. You make this happen, this discussion, this ongoing and wide-ranging discussion we have. And if it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for coming to Patreon and for supporting us in all the ways, especially by sharing the videos and encouraging others to become a part of this community. And the community is one not of violent separatists, but rather people who see what's happening, are preparing to deal with the consequences. And, you know, it's not a fun community in way of, hey, it's going to be great. No, we're talking about some very bad things happening. And we're seeing those bad things happening. And we see them in our world because we truly do live in our world. We get glimpses through media of the power elite and their policies and decisions and how they control governments and banking and major corporations. And we see little examples of that on our local level, local politicians and local businessmen trying to run things the way they run them. But, you know, that's their world. Our world is getting ready for the consequences of what they're doing. In a lot of cases, you know, we see what's happening to our youth, what's happening to our elderly, everyone in between. And the question is, how is this going on? Why? How? What is it? And I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine in New Mexico yesterday. Had a nice phone conversation and discussed the concept, or rather the religion, of adversarialism. Why is it everything is so screwed up? Why is it countries and businesses do what they do? And at the very end of this, I'm going to reveal adversarialism for what it really is. Another name by which it's known. Adversarialism has to do with opposites. To be an adversary is the enemy of, the opposite of. And so we're told on the street level, you know, the world we live in, the 10-mile radius we're in, our work environment, our social environment, you have to be nice to people. You have to play fair. Live and let live, right? There's laws and rules we have to obey. Speed limits, stop signs, seat belts. When you're in the grocery store, you don't ram into people with your cart and push them out of the way to get the last emo doll or whatever. You know, you have to be nice. But adversarialism teaches something completely different. It teaches you to take advantage of every weakness. Adversarialism teaches you not to love your neighbor, but to hate them. Adversarialism teaches, promotes war, conflict. Adversarialism doesn't teach to unite, but it teaches to divide. Divide and conquer. War is conquering. Divide and conquer. War. Win. Succeed at the expense of others. Adversarialism teaches that death is good. Right? Whether they use it in a simple term that somehow people think is good, creative destruction. War is creative destruction. No, it's not. Well, it provides jobs because you have to rebuild. No, it consumes wealth. You have to build something twice. That's twice the human labor, twice the cost. But who benefits? Who benefits from adversarialism? Who benefits from it? The wealthy, the powerful. They have learned to benefit from adversarialism, from war. They have learned to benefit from violating the rules. They have learned that doing the opposite of all that is good gives them an incredible amount of power and wealth. Their quality of life is great. It's massive because they are adversarialists. So they see everything they do is good because they have the mansions and the incredible mega yachts, and they own and control massive amounts of money through corporations or banks or politicians. Owning and controlling the lives of people in different nations is power that they want. that they desire and they crave that power. And they achieve it not through hard work and being nice. They achieve it through hard work and adversarialism. Literally, think about it. The companies live off of the destruction. Right? They make a living because a phone only lasts 2 years and then it breaks. They could make them last 5 or 10 years. But they've built in obsolescence. Even though the phones are the same as they really were just 5, 8, 10 years ago, little teeny beep, beep, beep improvements, but they're not anything big or cool, right? But they want you to have the newest thing. They want your old stuff to be obsolete, to break, to be destroyed. Again, adversarialism feasts and grows on destruction because it grants through that destruction, through war, through the attrition of its enemies, they grow in power. How is it the 1% have 99% of everything? Is it because they've worked hard? They've actually gone out there with a shovel and they're on the production line, all of the super rich? No, it's by using other people, by taking advantage of them, by adversarialism, by building a company, by defeating other companies, by creating products that consume themselves, so you have to consume more. Consumerism goes hand in hand with adversarialism because it relies, consumerism, on the continual consumption of goods and services. But as its name implies, consumerism means to eat, to devour. We're consuming everything. We consume ourselves in our own lives. And then we have to go out and work more, and we have to pay more to these adversarialists for the right to exist, right? By paying fees for cars, taxes on your home, taxes on your income. Who gets those taxes? Who gets that power and that money? The adversarialists. In government, government wants adversarialism. The left and the right paradigm is a terrific example of divide and conquer, pitting people against people so there's conflict, which causes us to consume in order to fight this battle with each other. It consumes our lives. It consumes our time, right? And that consumption is destruction, and destruction is war, and war is adversarialism. Now, what is another word for adversary? And this is where the rubber meets the road, folks, right here. Satan means adversary. Adversary means Satan. We talk about these wealthy, crazy families being satanic. It's not about horns and a tail and a pitchfork and red skin. That's not what it's about. It's about using adversarialism to their advantage, to gain power and wealth and control, to control the people and control others in vast regions of territory. Satanism is about controlling through destruction and war and hatred. It is the antithesis or the opposite of cooperation, peace, and love. Right? This idea of beating your swords into plowshares would be wonderful. But I have to maintain my firearms. I have guns because of the adversarial nature of those out there. These socialist, communist groups are adversarialists. They want to take from you, take and consume what you have created. They want to destroy freedom and love and prosperity and replace it with socialism, which is consumption of others. It is zombie, right? The living dead want to consume the living and make more of them. It is, in essence, an extension and consequence of adversarialism or Satanism. So if adversarialism is the opposite of good, kind, peace, love, cooperation, If adversarialism is the opposite of that, law and order, they are the opposite of law and order. They want privileged rules for them. Law and order for us, privileged rules for them. Law and order, they want privileged disorder. They want to control the disorder, control the disharmony. They do it. They control wars. Who fights where and over what? They manufacture events and say, we must go war over there. That country is bad. We're going to create a situation and go to war with them. Adversarialism. Those are our enemies, our adversaries. And you believe, because we believe that good fights evil. So they pronounce country X to be the adversary, to be Satan. So if we're fighting Satan, we here must be good, right, America? Because everyone is our enemy that our leaders, our adversarialist leaders pronounce. It's not only an act of war against them, it's an act of war against the people. Adversarialists fight everyone on every side. It is a religion of destruction. It is a parasitic religion. It requires the blood sacrifice of its people. Whether I'm talking about you and me working, blood, sweat, and tears, right? That's the equivalent thought, is I put my blood, sweat, and tears into my job, into that business, into that project. That is a sacrifice to the adversarialists because they tax you. They benefit and profit from us. They're adversarialists. Right? The adversarialists, they have their own rules. They want to do the opposite of good, peace, cooperation, and love. They want to do the opposite of it. So when people make the wild accusation that these Satanists or adversarialists murder people, well, sure, why not? It's the opposite of good and cooperation. It's an act of violence and destruction against a human being to murder them. So when Seth Rich is murdered, and it looks like it was done by political opponents or to punish him for what he did, it's believable that they would do that and have no problem with it. The same way they have no problem creating a war that isn't necessary. It is not necessary to go into Afghanistan and kill everybody. Leave them alone over there. Let them do their own damage to themselves. Let us live in peace and harmony here. Instead, no, they want to invite us to join them in stupidity, in destruction and chaos. And that becomes a blood sacrifice. Killing your own people for the benefit of a government's power and their claim that it's national security becomes a sacrifice to adversarialism. I was a United States Marine. I was a United States Marine. I believed I was enlisting to protect my family, my friends, my countrymen, and defend my nation and its law and order. And I discovered very quickly that it was something quite different than that. It was shocking to learn. It was shocking to see within the Marine Corps a fight between good and evil. That there were good Marines and there were bad Marines. Just as there's good soldiers and bad soldiers, airmen, seamen, etc. There are good and bad. There are those who are adversarialists in there, right? They play the game to play the game for benefit, not to protect their country. And I have to say that there's probably a majority of them are the good ones in all branches of the service. And there's probably within government more good than bad. But the adversarialists, right? How long does, give me one example. How long does it take to build a house? It takes months. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months to build a house, to develop raw property to where you've got a finished product and a family can live in it. It takes one match and 1 day to burn it to the ground, to destroy it. That is why adversarialism is so successful, because destruction is so much faster and so much easier than creation. Shit is going to hit the fan because of adversarialism. They are pitting people who want socialism, which is adversarial, against people who want freedom. Corporations have pitted themselves against other corporations adversarially. And they've pitted themselves against us, their own consumers. They sell us products that make us sick, that make us fat, that are unhealthy, that are dangerous, that break quickly, that require servicing, and the government requires taxation and control of us and the products. As consumers, we participate in adversarialism by giving in to materialism. Right? And socialists are not free of this concept of materialism. They want stuff too, it's just they want you to provide it for them. Adversarialism is the Leviathan. It is the multi-headed hydra that's into everything. Everything, even medicine, which is supposed to be the art and science of healing. Medicine is adversarial. Cancer treatment. I know people, and I've known people, and I'm sure I'll continue to know people who battle cancer to get it out of their bodies. Adversarialism uses the concept we're going to kill the cancer with our treatment, hopefully faster than we kill you with it. So just the cancer treatment itself attacks you and tries killing you. It's incredible. The medicines and drugs you take require more medicines and drugs to counteract the negative effects of the first drugs and medicines you take. Adversarialism. It's made it into medicine. It makes it into people's beliefs and philosophies. People may have good hearts, but as soon as they believe in an adversarial system, they can get sucked into the negative components of it. Sure, the idea of everyone living together and sharing and living in cooperation is kind of a socialist concept. We can all do equally as well if we all work equally as hard, don't you think? That could work. But we would all have to rely on ourselves to be equal to others instead of relying on others to be equal with others. But the adversarial nature of the system, the evil nature, takes it to that evil place. That is why these corporations don't give a shit. They're greedy beyond all comprehension. They'll destroy other companies, destroy themselves, destroy jobs. The very reason the company came to exist, to create a good product, to help humanity, ends up getting supplanted with adversarialist concepts and notions of consuming other companies and destroying other companies and making people dependent upon them. And then taking jobs that people who helped create the company and eliminating those jobs and replacing it with automation. So the adversarialists at the top can have more wealth and more power to control more government and more law and more people below them. It is completely adversarialist and it is satanic. And it does get very dark. Look at what came out just a few years ago. The spirit cooking witchcraft of the Democrats was exposed. And there are, I'm sure, Republicans involved in that. As surely as there's rhino Republicans within the Republican Party. They're Republican name only. They are adversarial. They'll pit any party against any party in person in order for them to gain power at the top. Once again, they're adversarial in nature. They like divide and conquer. They use manipulation and blackmail and extortion. They lie, cheat, steal, and stab people in the back to get ahead. Where is the good, love, compassion, cooperation, and spirit of goodness in any of that? And because it has become so powerful, the Satanists, we are going to have shit hitting the fan. We are. They have continually built up the economy and broke it down to consume wealth. Built it up and broke it down to bring people under their subjugation. Built it up and broke it down to create more laws for the government to take our freedoms from us. How is that prosperous or good or free How is that beneficial and loving and useful? How is it about peace? It's not. It's about conflict and war and taking. The spirit cooking, the dirtiest, darkest, satanic part. What people traditionally ascribe to Satanism is sacrifice, drinking blood, eating humans, cannibalism, sex slaves from children. These are the things we typically ascribe to Satanists. And we're seeing again at this time an example of that in our ultra wealthy, in the aristocracy and the royals. We hear stories of in times past, hundreds of years ago, all the way to today. It is still existing. And it is the most hidden secrets of Satanism. But it is truly adversarialism. If we're supposed to love children and cherish them and raise them to be good, the Satanist is the opposite. To not create children, but to steal children. Not to love them, but to hate them. Not to nurture them, but to take from them their very lives. And so when you hear about child sacrifice in Satanist groups, now you can understand, not agree with, definitely not agree with, but understand why they do it, how they do it, how they use that to their advantage, because it gives them what they want. Can you be happy and wealthy and successful? Work hard and be satisfied with yourself? That's good. That's a good life, right? It takes a lot of effort. But to steal and murder and kill and dominate and be adversarial, right? It is a whole lot more type of power. Very much like, let's see, Star Wars, right? You got the Jedi who live simple, good lives, supposedly. They fight evil, but they're wholesome and they're not materialists, right? At the same time, the dark side of the Force is the Sith Lords who want to dominate the universe and control and kill and everything else and destroy, consume. They're adversarial. Right? Those are all mythological, tale-telling examples of how it works, but it's universal, literally universal. So how do we get from where we're at back to good? How do we do it? Because every time there's been a revolution and free republics are created, within generations, the adversarialists are back. They're back in power. They're back destroying and controlling and dominating. Could that be why Thomas Jefferson said that, from time to time, the tree of liberty has to be watered with the blood, right, of patriots and tyrants? Every 20 years, every generation. We need to have an understanding of these people, but they hide. They hide in the shadows, and then they come back out and they do it again, because it is a system of control and a system of making wealth and domination. Adversarialism is successful to them because it works and because it gives them what they want. And they don't care how black that makes their heart. They don't care what it does to their souls, because that is what they want. Right? When you talk about greed and selfishness, that is what it does to them. They love being adversarialists because they get power and they get this belief system that it's good, that they're Satanists in the very sense and heart and meaning of the word, to be opposite from good, not a red guy with horns and a tail and pitchfork. But it's their religion, adversarialism. Satanism is their religion. It's their belief system. And they act on it in a secular manner. A religious manner in their ceremonies and a secular manner in their business and political practices. And they control. They control the government. It is a war. It is a fight against principalities and potentates. The war of good versus evil is against the powerful, in other words, because they destroy so much. And It's near impossible to protect yourself from this Leviathan because it can attack you in so many ways. It's because of that I've chosen to live as I live, right? The life of a simpleton, right? I have creature comforts, but it is very inexpensive to do. It doesn't require me to consume everything, right? I still need technology to do what I do with you here on the internet. I need the technology to do that, and I work for it to pay for it. But it would be something that I would love to give up. It is difficult to understand all of this that's happened to our world, and to see it didn't happen in the last 5 or 10 years. And it's not difficult to understand, oh shit, it's been with us for all time from the beginning. It's not difficult to understand that adversarialism is Satanism, and that's why, and the reasons and the methods it uses, that's why it's so powerful, and why so many people choose that over being good. It's incredible, to resist the temptations of it. And I could be a dastardly person, I'm sure, if I wanted to be a pimp or a drug dealer. I'm sure I could be really good at it, right? Using drugs to destroy people's lives and consume their wealth and bring them under the domain and domination of drugs. Sure, I could bend my mind to that and become a horrifyingly successful criminal using adversarialism. But it's not good. It would kill my heart. That's how you know if you're a good person. Go ahead and tempt yourself and think, man, what if I could run, right, an operation that steals people's finances, their savings, their investments, knowing that the system uses their money to create wealth that those bankers can in turn consume and steal. And every time there's a recession, they do that. They steal half of everyone's wealth. Now, there's people that work in that industry that believe they're doing good and helping people. And then there's people that realize and understand that that system is adversarialism at its heart. And they understand what it does, and they don't care. They're there to get rich at any cost, the cost of others, the expense of others, using adversarialist practices. The financial industry uses adversarialist practices to make it powerful and successful. That's why there's so many trillions of dollars locked up in it. Where did those dollars come from? Real measurable wealth, the essence, the blood, sweat, and tears, the sacrifice of people is consumed by the financial investment monetary industry. That's adversarialism. And there are good people, as I said, working in it who think they're doing good and want to do good. But there's people that know it's wrong and evil and bad, and they don't give a fuck. In fact, they like it. This is a scary world we live in. When you see the philosophies, the ideologies, and the belief systems, the dogmas that are practiced, from the most simple and out in the open to the darkest, deepest, and scariest of practices. It is a scary world. And once you see it for what it is, you begin to hope and pray that there is a Savior and a Creator and a God of love and peace and understanding. Prince of Peace, not the prince of the powers of the air. Right? In other words, I don't want to get real religious on this, but it is to them a religion, adversarialism. It is a practice that is dark and destructive. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense to protect yourself, to protect your heart and your head. We're going to see awful, awful evils occurring and happening around us. That doesn't make you awful and evil because you're witnessing it and having to experience it. But it should teach us there are consequences to adversarialism, to Satanism, to evil. And they're not to be taken or understood as transient and not a real big deal. By allowing what we've allowed to happen, it's going to create even more suffering. That's why you are not supposed to allow evil to exist. You stop it at its source. That's the purpose, or supposed to be the purpose, of religion or philosophies of good, right? But here we are. Like I said, it's easier to destroy than create. So the rise of power and control by adversarialism happens very quickly. It takes hundreds of years to create an empire. It takes a matter of just a few years to destroy it, or to see it through its destruction. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll talk to you soon. Wish I had more good news, but Godspeed to you. God bless America. Semper Fi.